This is how much we miss you.
We are so excited to be here that we're doing it twice. Why not? Thank you to everyone who tunes in. If you are a viewer of the Hagir Show, sometimes technical difficulties pop up, but we are just going to roll with it. So we are joined today by Mike Walsh. He is the co-founder of the Central Mlk Day of Service here in Central PA. So thank you, Mike. Thank you for making time for us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see everybody.
You know what? I have to stop you both. If you guys watch 51st Dates,
or to start
everyone watching us, we miss you guys so much. We have to do it twice. You're gonna hear the same thing. So just get your pen, pencil, and write it. There is a test at the end.
Yeah, you have no excuse not to know this first part. So, okay, give us that rundown again. Details for Central Mlk Day of Service. In Central PA, you have the option of having a day on instead of a day off and coming together to do service projects. And honestly, as someone who's new to the board, I am thrilled. You guys have taken a lot of the guesswork out of it for anyone who wants to volunteer, and you've made it as easy as possible. So tell us about the website, and if I am someone who wants to volunteer, what I can find on the website.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate it. We have 1 week from today, January 17th is the MLK Day of Service. And everybody knows it as the MLK holiday in the United States. It's a day off for many people. But in 1994, it became a National Day of Service. So we're excited right here in Central Pennsylvania. It's the 13th annual Day of Service. And folks who have some time can think about serving our community by volunteering for a few hours or participating in an online conversation that's going to take place. So the most important thing, I think, for folks to remember, and what we're asking you to do, is go to our website. It's centralpamlkday.org. Go to the website and you'll see on there all the information about MLK Day. But very specifically, there are 3 tabs, and one is about how can I volunteer in person, and there are listed almost 30 in-person volunteer opportunities that are taking place all across the community on the East Shore and the West Shore. And we're excited that community organizations and nonprofits came together and said, yeah, we could use some volunteers to help. Maybe it's to paint a community room, maybe it's to pick up trash, maybe it's to make cards for children that right now are in area hospitals. There's the Capital Area Therapeutic Riding Association up in Grantville, and they need a hand. So there's really great organizations that you can see exactly what they need and what time they're starting and when they're ending. So we ask you to do that, to go to the website and see what's available to do on King Day. There's also another tab you can click on that says, virtual opportunities. So just like we're having a virtual conversation right now, there's going to be an opportunity for you to, in the comfort and safety of your own home, to join in a community conversation that takes place on King Day. And there's actually 6 or 7 sessions that will be happening throughout the day. Conversations, informational sessions on housing and healthcare. Really engaging opportunities to bring to the forefront some important issues facing our community, but also to really honor the life and legacy of Dr. King by thinking about how we make the world a better place for everybody in our community. So we're excited. You can join us in person on January 17th. You can join us online, and we just ask you to do that. That's the message. is to be a part of the King holiday, to bring to the forefront the issues that matter to our community by helping us solve problems, by helping us, really address issues that are important. And I think it's good to note for people. I'm someone who works at the state, and we have a day off. And those people who made it a national holiday really became the people who 11 years after it became a national holiday, they led the fight for it to become a national day of service, because they knew that they didn't want Dr. King's birthday to be something that just kind of was a passive thing, that people stayed home from work and stayed home from school and sat on the couch and watched TV. They want everybody to be involved, and that's what his life was about getting involved. So that's I hope we can talk about these things in more detail, but that's the kind of quick thing, is get to the website and get signed up today.
And bring your friends, bring your family friendly, bring your kids.
There's so many opportunities that are family friendly. And of course, all the ones are virtually, but then there's also some in-person ones too. So, if you grab a friend, I've done that over the years, my mom and dad and my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters and my friends, and obviously Hillary, my wife, we've all participated in King Day over the years. And it was always great for me when my brother or my sister brought their kids, and we introduced a new generation to the idea of serving others, of giving something back, of understanding who Dr. King was and what was his message, and why it matters. So I think that's important. Everybody has a role to play. What did King say? Everybody could be great because anybody can serve. And that's what we're asking you to do, serve for an hour or two on the holiday.
Mm-hmm. And, it must be good, because the first time I joined a board meeting, it was like the best of the best. Like, there was such a great vibe. And we had a press conference today, and Patty Kim was there, and she made a point of saying that she did it once, and then she just kept coming back and back and back and back. And you have a great team around you. I mean, like Eileen, Marissa, they have been doing this for years. So obviously the people that are on the board and that are actually going out and setting up these things, they keep coming back. So it's a testament to the coalition that you've built here, that everyone really looks forward to. It actually becomes something that you're excited about.
No, it's great to see faces that return year after year too. When you get out in the community, you see people who participate, and sometimes I only see them on King Day, but other folks, friendships have really grown, and people are on our board now 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Chad Fry, who was at Messiah, who came to us through Messiah, where he was leading the Agape Center for Service Learning. I think he came in year 2, so 12 years ago, or whatever. He joined our board and has been with us ever since. It's just a great group of people. There's a great diversity on the board, a great cross-section of folks who live all over the place, but they all come together for this National Day of Service. And really got its start, because there were lots of things happening in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but there wasn't an umbrella organization here in central Pennsylvania that was bringing together all the kinds of projects where folks needed volunteers. And, we recognized that back in 2008, 2009, and said, we really have to do something here. And that's how that Central PA Day of Service was born. It was, actually we went to the school district, was Harrisburg School District. And we said, can we partner with you? How do we bring kids into this? And it's been really rewarding since then. Harrisburg has been involved. Steelton has been involved. Susquehanna, Commonwealth Charter Academy. So it gets better and better, and it grows every year.
Mm-hmm. And when we say Central PA, we mean like Carlisle, Camp Hill, Harrisburg, Lidditz. Like, it is like all over the map. So if you're looking for something particularly close to you, you can also find that out on the website too. If you're looking for geographic, or just find something that suits you, there's such a wide variety, and it spans the entirety of central Pennsylvania.
It does, yeah. And there's events that happen in Lancaster and York, and like you said, in Carlisle and other areas. And we try to get as many of them as we can on our website. But it's it's just great to see so many people come together and honor Dr. King and do something in service of the community. Now, paying attention to serving others on one day is great. But what we're also doing, and I think you sense this from the conversations we've had on our board meetings, we want to move MLK Day into a year-long effort to make changes within our community, positive changes. So MLK Day of Service really is going to be growing into a year of service, because we don't solve the issues in one day. We know that. This year we're focusing on health care, accessibility to healthcare, and affordable housing. And we know on MLK Day, we're not going to be able to solve any of the major issues that we're dealing with in our community around housing and healthcare. We can bring to light the issues. We can create some awareness around them. But the idea now is to take the day of service and move it into a year of service so that we can collaboratively work together to make some positive changes. And that's what, MLK 365 that we hear about. We're kind of adopting that model so we can move the day of service, make the day of service something all year round. So we're excited about that.
Mm-hmm. And it goes to show, on the website, when you go there, we do have almost 30 projects, which goes to show that starting since October, we have been able to collaborate and get in contact with different organizations, see what their needs were. And they're really easy. They're not hiding their needs. They'll tell you. And if we can connect them with the volunteers, there's no reason you can't replicate that over and over. And when I first started the board, I thought it was going to be 25 projects spread out through the year. And then it slowly clicked. I'm like, oh, this man's ambitious. He's doing 25 on MLK. And then doing things throughout the year.
Yeah, and I saw one on there yesterday. The Bethesda Mission is looking for one volunteer to read the "I Have a Dream" speech to folks. I
think I have that covered. Not me.
Yeah, but it's. I'm glad we have somebody to do it. But it speaks right to that. You can participate in all kinds of ways, and think about how powerful that is. Will be for that one person who signs up, and maybe you have the person selected, but what an opportunity, what an honor that they could read King's words to some folks at the Bethesda Mission. I think that's, it's just one of many different ways people can help out, but there's a lot of honor in what I think people get a chance to do. And I think it nurtures and feeds their own souls and their own selves as much as it helps anyone else. And that's important too.
I'm not sure if you know Floyd, but shout out to Floyd and the American Literacy. Yeah, they're doing actually the same idea, but in different languages. So people are translating the speech, and in I think so far he has 8 languages that are lined up, and it's going to be on Zoom the 17th.
That's great. Floyd was with us at our first day of service, and he's been there over a number of years. Floyd Stokes, we love Floyd, and he donated many books over the years that have been a part of the day of service. And pre-pandemic, we had lots of those reading to kids as part of the day of service. Right up to 2020, we had reading to children in person, and then of course last year and this year that's been scaled back a little bit. But big shout out to Floyd, great guy.
Mm-hmm. And he does the 365 as well. It's important to show that it can be easy, because I think Dr. King has such a massive legacy. It can be intimidating, overwhelming. You're not quite sure where to start. But if you can just exactly what you're saying, if you can just get into the community, just take this day to get started, you'll get the bug. You'll make your own connections. You'll see what worked, and then it just builds on each other.
Yeah, I think it's important to it's important to understand that everything builds on something else, and we've seen that with creating this day of service. That the relationships that have grown over the years, the partnerships that we have, and I want to thank the Giant company. Giant's Food Stores has been a great partner for us. Aisha Noor, who's a wonderful person and is really dedicates her life to the issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And, that speaks to us. And she has supported us with the Giant company so much. And everything builds on everything else. And that's, the building blocks of a stronger, more vibrant, more diverse, more equitable community. Is, just makes this one day super important. And we all have to, kind of remind ourselves that that a lot gets accomplished in one day. And of course, we want to make it, happen more often throughout the year. But because people get involved on one day, you see them then participating in other things because they were excited, or you see them volunteering for that nonprofit throughout the year because they were introduced on King Day. We see that too. So get to the website, please, and sign up.
Shout out to Aisha, Noor, and Giant. They're being, and not just involved with you, but every project that I dealt with or helped, you hear that name comes, and they're really huge part of our community. And Aisha is an amazing asset to Central PA.
Yeah, she
Thank
is.
you, Aisha.
Thank you. We're lucky to have her and the Giant Company, and all of our. We have a great list of sponsors. They're all on the website too. So, please go on there and see that, and thank them and support them, because they give something back to the community, which is really important.
So let's run through some of these so people can get like a concrete idea of what they could be participating in. So let's start with the virtual events. These are events that I think, if anything positive came out of COVID, it's that we're like pretty much Zoom experts now. So we all kind of understand how to get on a Zoom, how to participate. And this can be, interactive, where you can ask questions, and they're going to be a lot of different ones. So do you want to run through a couple of those?
Sure. I'm happy that everyone can join us at 9:00 for a live streaming of the kickoff event, which is actually
ceremony.
Yeah, that's going to happen at Hamilton Health, and so you can join us there by a Zoom or Facebook Live. So join us for that. But then housing and neighboring is going to be the first session. That's at 10:00. Chad Fry from Messiah, who I discussed a minute ago, is teaming up with the Dauphin County Systems of Care to talk about neighboring and housing. Housing is a huge issue, across the United States and here in our region as well. Why we're focused on housing is we were thinking about Dr. King's campaign in 1966. It was called the Chicago Campaign. And he went to Chicago to put really a focus on housing condition, the conditions that people were living in public housing, and to make a correlation between good housing and good health. And when one is out of balance, it throws the whole system out of balance. And really January to August, Dr. King is in Chicago with his team, bringing attention to these issues, going to rat-infested slums, bringing TV cameras to places that people had never seen before. Finally, the mayor at the time, Mayor Daley, said, we'll do a number of things and we'll change some things. And King said that never would have happened without the Chicago campaign and what they brought to light. And of course, in 1968, the Fair Housing Act gets passed, which has which allowed minorities, folks in disadvantaged communities, for the first time ever, to have access to loans, to have access to federal programs for housing, and to have access to neighborhoods that they never could have been in before. I mean, this is only as recent as 1968. You couldn't live certain places if you looked a certain way. And I'm sad to say that the gap is just as great as it was. The housing gap, the ownership gap in the United States is just as great as it was in today's day as it was in 1968. I just saw stats that were pretty recent that about 76% of white Americans own a home. But it's about 43 to 44 to 45% of African American home ownership in the United States. It's about 50% of Latino Americans. So there's a huge gap, and that that creates a wealth gap, and it creates it puts up so many other barriers in people's lives it creates, problems across the threshold. So, generational wealth is often found in home ownership, having access to affordable housing, or if you don't own, just being in places where they're not going to drive up the rents on you, and or gentrify you out of existence. So 50 years later, 50 years after the Fair Housing Act, we still have work to do. And we know that in our community, there are still problems with accessibility, affordability of housing options. So we're working with Tri-County, with Dauphin County, with the city, and Habitat, and we're going to partner with them throughout the year to bring attention to this and think about how we can add our voices, add our sweat equity, and get involved to raise awareness and to hopefully bring about some positive changes in housing. These problems really are national problems, but they need local level solutions. So there's going to be a number of topics. You're involved in one, Heather. There's going to be a number of conversations taking place throughout the day that will provide people with information and resources and understanding of how they can address the housing problems that exist within our community. And it starts at 10 o'clock, really, with Chad and the conversations he's having. And then there's going to be some legal aid conversations, utility and rent assistance that lawyers will be able to provide folks who have questions, so you can get questions answered. And of course, I know you're doing a home buyers seminar. That's the other bookend of the day. You're going to do a home buyers seminar with some folks from Joy Daniels Real Estate. So that's at 6 to 7. So, the day begins and ends with, some great information. And in the middle, there are conversations on, like I said, with legal aid folks, lawyers who can help answer questions. We're also talking about diversity, equity, inclusion is a key part of what we're doing, and that's why Giant supports our work. There's a LGBTQ visibility, inclusivity, and awareness conversation that takes place. And
shout out Janelle Crossley. She's a fan of the show.
Yeah, so we thank her for that. And I think it's I think all the conversations that you're going to see that day on the website is a whole schedule. There's folks who are talking about aging in place, seniors, folks talking about COVID-19 and information that we need to stay safe. So go to the website and find out all the details. But what's important is that I think we make change when we understand. Until I learned about the Chicago campaign and what Martin Luther King was doing by bringing attention to this issue, until I understood that it wasn't so long ago, people were denied access to live in certain neighborhoods. People were denied access to have loans and mortgages. Can you imagine? And how that created entire generations of generational poverty instead of generational wealth, and how it, impacted entire communities. So economic justice and environmental justice and all that was kind of tied in with what King was doing in that 1966 Chicago campaign, and we're resurrecting that as our as our inspiration for this year.
I think sometimes that gap is because of like an asymmetrical information. Like I fully worked in real estate for like 8 years before it ever dawned on me that I could own a home. Like it wasn't something I planned on. It wasn't something that I thought I could do. It wasn't something that you had put thought into. And that's because a lot of that information, unless it's a part of your day-to-day life, or you have someone that you trust, or it's something, that you have experienced in the past, you just have no reason to know that. And it's the same with aging in place. You don't really think about long-term care or the housing of different generations until it comes to you. And then you have to learn it in real time. And sometimes you find out there's like a whole network, like your friends all know this, they just don't really talk about it. But some of that is informational. So the informational virtual sessions, I think, are going to be massive. There's going to be resources. So if you're worried about utilities, legal aid, renting, buying, aging in place, that's the kind of stuff that you can just pop on and then we'll have them for posterity's sake too if you can't go live. but that will help you, even if you don't have all the time that day to figure it all out. Getting that information and being pointed towards the resources, I think, is half the battle.
No, and it's a good point. Some people have also said, hey, care about housing. What about habitat and building? Well, January 17th isn't the best time of year for home construction, and to be helping out with that. And even a lot of outdoor projects are always weather contingent. So when you said, some conversations virtually will be saved so people can join us later, that's great too. And understand why we're moving to 365. Not only do we need more time to address these issues, but throughout the year, there's going to be some other ways that we can get involved too, in person, where you can do some more hands-on projects and the weather's a little better. So that's exciting too.
So I want to quickly ask about you. How did you come to do this? How did you come to co-found it, bring it here? Because participating in Philly and Pittsburgh is one thing, but to come here and do it year after year for 13 years, where did your sense of service come from?
Yeah, well, I think, it's a story of heroes. And being young, my heroes were like, John F. Kennedy, JFK, and RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. I was someone who was always really into politics and government, even from the time I could start to read those kinds of books. That's what I was focused on. And in college, there was never a question I was going to be a political science major. I went to St. Vincent and Latrobe outside Pittsburgh. And as it approached the summer of my freshman year, I thought I want to get an internship. And through a friend that my mother had, I was able to get an interview with Senator Harris Wofford's office in Philadelphia. And I applied for an internship there and was accepted. And I didn't know anything about Harris Wofford at the time, except that he was a Democratic senator, U.S. senator. And what I came to learn that summer pretty quickly was a great person who dedicated his life to serving others. But Harris had been an advisor to JFK, to RFK, and to Martin Luther King. And, I was sort of meeting someone. It was, a heady experience for a 19-year-old to get to meet a U.S. senator and get to know him through that summer, and had a lot of opportunities to be with him that summer. And, I thought about that a lot when I was interning. Here's this guy who, was surrounded by people who I've always looked up to, JFK, RFK, Mlk, but, the whole, and Harris Wofford, co-founded the Peace Corps. And he was, he was one of the founders of National Service, the AmeriCorps program, the idea, of serving our nation. And he did that, and he was like its first director. And he did that. He helped sponsor that national service legislation because he wanted to bring that idea of the Peace Corps home. The idea of serving elsewhere in the world is great, but he wanted people to have the opportunity to serve here in the United States. So he's, somebody that I've always looked up to. And I got to know him that summer in '93, and then the next summer of 1994, I worked for him again. And what I learned too about him, which was really cool, was how he was the first white to graduate from Howard Law School. So if you don't know about Harris Wofford, I would say, a lot of people might not know him because he was out of office by 1994. He was defeated by Rick Santorum. And so he's out of office by 1994, but he didn't go away after 1994. He stayed, working on some really important issues. And I think the focus is let me just say something about MLK. He was the first white to graduate from Howard Law School, and then he went to India to study Gandhi and study nonviolence resistance. So then Harris Wofford, with his wife in the 1950s, goes around the South teaching nonviolent resistance, teaching ways to, make that a key cornerstone of the civil rights movement. And MLK meets him and adopts that for himself, that idea the idea that you're going to protest peacefully. And that's what they did. And look what they faced. They faced billy clubs. They faced, police dogs. They faced, just everything unspeakable that you can imagine. But they did so in a nonviolent way. And that's Harris Wofford learning that from Gandhi and advising King on that in the 50s, and King adopting that. And then, he has a great story of just working with JFK and RFK, and then continuing to advise Martin Luther King. And then interesting, he's the Secretary of Labor and Industry here in Harrisburg for Bob Casey, who was the governor, and John Hines dies in a plane crash, and Casey appoints him as the U.S. Senator. And when Wofford went to the U.S. Senate with John Lewis, he passed the legislation to make the King National Holiday a day of service. So you had Wofford and John Lewis of Georgia, who we just lost not too long ago, both who had marched with King, both who were committed to nonviolence, and both of whom in the House and in the Senate co-sponsored this legislation to make the day of service come to reality. So that's my story. So I'm Todd Bernstein in Philadelphia started the day of service 27 years ago. As soon as the legislation passed, Todd Bernstein, who worked for Harris Wofford, created the Greater Philadelphia Day of Service. And they have hundreds of thousands of volunteers and thousands of projects. And some of us would go there to serve. And like I said, we were sort of thought, why don't we do it here? Why go to Philly? So that's what we did. And I was at Department of Education as a deputy secretary at the time. And I talked to Todd and I said, how do we get it started? You started something so big. And he said, go start with the school district, start with the kids, start with the young, think about how we can integrate it into the educational system. And Sybil Knight Burney was assistant superintendent at Harrisburg at the time. And she took a meeting with me. And so her and I started that first one. And that's how it got started.
Talk about legacy. Like I'm talking about like MLK legacy, but like you have like a whole thing here of like, if you can talk to the right people and like attracts like, law of attraction, you can get good people. And I mean, I think you've said the word service like 10 times. It's true. This is about serving and being able to at least try to do your part, even if it's just on MLK Day, to match that legacy, even for just that moment.
Yeah. I think the idea of serving others, I think should be ingrained in all of us. I hope that, I hope that people find a way to get to it. There's no higher calling, I always say, than serving others. Another quote that we use often is King saying, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So that inspires us as we go forward every year planning this stuff. And hopefully, I think all of us in our lives have all kinds of organizations that we support, community issues that we care about, nonprofits that we align ourselves with. And hopefully that is our way of serving throughout the year and hearing what Dr. King talked about, kind of echoing, every day in our own lives. Because there's a lot of people who did so much to get us to where we are, whether you're white or African-American. I think that, we all are part of the beloved community that King talked about. We're all in this together. And when one is not doing well, we're all not doing well. So we all have to, work hard to make it better for everyone. And that's, it's one day for the King holiday, but really what the conversation is about is what are we all doing in our lives throughout the year and what are we committed to? And, maybe there's a spark on King Day that people then take with them throughout the year. But I'm excited about, all the people who get energized on King Day. And you go on social media and see the pictures of moms and dads and kids and families together. That's pretty exciting.
And I mean, as someone, let's just say I'm not on the board and I have this desire to help. I have a desire to do service. I have a desire to be involved, but I'm not quite sure where. everything that you have done has made that very easy. You've taken all of the guesswork out of it. So let's
Yeah.
just reiterate where people can find. I also wanted to make sure people know that you can do virtual, you can do in person, but if donating is your thing, you can donate too. We have drop-off points for certain things. You can look on the website, you can look on Facebook. We have a list of items that we are in need of. You can drop them off at different drop-off points around the counties. And that's service too. Being able to donate. I mean, Giant being our sponsor is a way of donating and doing a service, but people can do that too.
Yeah, we have some refugees, families from Afghanistan who are being resettled in the area, and they need unused pillows and towels and laundry detergent and some other items. And you can go to our website and you can see a whole list of this, like you said. But that, so those items specifically can be brought to Hamilton Health Center on 17th Street on King Day between 10 and noon. So we invite you to do that. There's also the Giving Pantry has some needs. They're on Flank Drive in Harrisburg. Hurston Manor has needs. I mean, they're all there on the website. I don't have to get into it, but you can be on Zoom in conversation. You could show up in person and participate, or you could take your kids to the store between now and Monday and buy some supplies and some things that families need, and tell them why you're doing it. That's important. Tell them a little bit about who King was, and then have them join with you. Bring your kids with you when you go to the United Way or Hurston Manor. And I think Heather, too, you're working on one there. I think it was Esperanza from the animal rescue. What was that
Pet
one?
supplies.
Yeah.
So we have some drop-off points. You can come to my front porch, have a convo with me, or you can call me. I'll come pick it up for you. I am more than happy to pick up supplies. But we're going to be getting some supplies for Esperanza Animal Rescue. They are in need all year long, but specifically now they have a need for food. There's a specific list of what they look for, gently used blankets even for the different pets. So that is a way to donate as well. And I mean, we have friend of the show, Janelle Crosley. She has her virtual event on LGBTQ inclusion. Christine Titi has been on the show. She is doing the Giving Pantry and assembling care packages. Kadita Kenner has been on the show. She is working with her nonprofit, the New Pennsylvania Project, doing voter registration. So honestly, and I know I'm missing people, but there are just so many things that you can absolutely find something. I want to paint the rooms. Painting with a purpose on Why Not Prosper. Like that's my jam. Like I would like to do that. I know there's going to be stretched thin, but that sounds amazing.
And don't forget the homeless shelters. There is a lot downtown. I mean, everyone think about food, but they do need blankets, hats, gloves, and you can ask if you're not sure what you can give.
Recycle bicycles on there. The Camp Hill Dems are they've taken on a project at the library to do some service within the community. I mean, it's just, I wish there was 10 of me so I could do all of these because they just sound amazing. And for a fact, once you get there, you're going to meet cool people too. Like the people that are going to be at the recycle bicycle are going to be like your people if that's your thing.
Yeah, and there's no experience necessary. I got asked that. Somebody said, I don't know anything about fixing bikes. I said, you don't need to know anything about, they help you out and you're getting them ready to be donated. I mean, what a great service. I mean, talk about access to a job, access in the community, giving somebody a mode of transportation, or giving somebody just the joy of getting out on a trail and enjoying the riverfront, giving a kid in the community maybe his or her first bike. That there's something that's great about that organization, and we're happy that they've been with us a number of years. Just good people, and you don't need to know anything, and they'll
come
help
as you are.
Yeah, come as you are. That's right. So yeah, it's great. And one of the things we're talking about Harris Wofford. I went back a number of years to Philadelphia and saw him long after. He was, no longer U.S. Senator, but he would always be there on the day of service. And he passed away on Martin Luther King Day itself. Ironically, I think he was 92 years old. And, but he got to see that legacy and that life of King. He got to work with him and march with him and advise him, got to see his birthday become a national holiday, got to help make that birthday a national day of service, and then lived for many years to see, literally millions participate in that day of service around the country. And, I'm always kind of fueled by those stories. I'm fueled by, being a young guy and being able to intern for someone like that. And I'm fueled by the passion that you see in people, every day continuing that legacy and being involved. So I'm fueled by what I see at Recycle Bicycle, what I see at Bethesda. And
blood drive. I forgot about the blood drive. That's a good one.
So it's really great. So yeah, get out there and learn about the issues too that we're talking about accessibility in the community to better housing and to better healthcare options, and how we work together to make make these issues, raise awareness around these issues, but also help address some of the problems that we have in our community. Because like I said, 50 years later, it's still there and it's not getting better, and we need to focus on it more. So
I love it. I love it. So everyone remember Central PAMLKday.org. When you go there, you will be able to see in-person events, virtual events, and donations. You can see our sponsors there. You can see all of our lovely faces. If you would like to watch the opening ceremony, like Mike said, it's going to be live streamed on Facebook, live from Hamilton Health. That's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be like the perfect way to kick it off. And then please visit the website. I cannot stress to you enough how beautiful it is and how you will be able to see, especially for the in-person projects, everything that you need to know, the timing, the location, anything specific. And there's so many different choices. I promise you can find something that's going to speak to you. So we have a way that we like to end our show. Our guests always give us great info. They always tell us, they're always so selfless. They always tell us about everything they're doing, but we like to learn a little bit about them before they go. And so do our viewers. So we are going to do a lightning round to wrap up, if you are okay with that. Are you good with the lightning round?
Yeah, that's fun. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
happy to do it.
I feel like every Zoom should end
You
with
look
like
worried. Don't be worried. Don't worry.
Yeah. So let's talk about something else besides me for a little bit.
So you tell everyone your current job, because I think you have a very cool current job.
Yeah, I'm honored to right now work at the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. So I encourage everyone, if you haven't been to a state park or forest, we have 121 state parks in Pennsylvania, and we have 2.2 million acres of state forest land. We have a great legacy in Pennsylvania of taking some of the most beautiful places and preserving them for generations yet to come. And, so I'm happy to work at the agency that manages all those lands. We're the largest landowner in Pennsylvania. We have the most public lands for people to enjoy. And right here in central Pennsylvania, there's Gifford Pinchot State Park, just south of us down 83. There's Memorial Lake State Park. There's Swatera State Park. So there's plenty of state parks right around Harrisburg. But if you're joining us from around the state, every Pennsylvanian is within about 25 miles of a state park. And you're all within 25 minutes of a trail, someplace you can go walk or bike or hike. So we focus on that at DCNR. It's a state agency of about 1,200 part-time and about 1,200 full-time folks who work on managing those lands and providing the support and the services for people to have those natural resources available to them. It's a great place to work. I'm there working for Cindy Dunn, who is the secretary of DCNR. I'm a deputy secretary, and I've been there about 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was a deputy secretary at the Department of Education. That's where I was when we started King Day. I've been really lucky to work in a lot of great places over 22 years in state government, but DCNR is a special place. And what we saw, I mean, during the pandemic, how many of you went out and you went walking outside, or you felt, you knew it was going to be safer to be outdoors, to be with your friends? 47 million visitors last year to our state parks.
Wow.
47 million visitors. Presque Isle State Park in Erie, which is Pennsylvania's seashore there on Lake Erie, they get more visitors a year than Yellowstone National Park. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
People don't know that. And we have a real commitment, just talking a little bit about DEI, we have a real commitment at DCNR to bring more people to our parks and forests. And for a long time, there's underserved communities that have not maybe felt welcome or had the resources or the know-how to enjoy our parks. And we're trying to break down those barriers. And we want Pennsylvania parks to be welcoming and accessible to all, to be places that everyone can enjoy. And I'll just say this, it's in our Constitution. I know Heather and Sarah and Hagir, all of you are students of history and you care about politics. In Pennsylvania's Constitution, Article 1, Section 27 guarantees every Pennsylvanian the right to clean air and clean water and these places, these natural resources, for today and for generations yet to come. That language is just really important because we understand we're in what we call the forever business. We make decisions not just for today, but forever. And Pennsylvania is one of few states with a constitutional amendment passed 50 years ago. 3 out of 4 voters voted to approve it. Can you imagine today, 75% agreeing on something?
Like clean air, gross.
Yeah, right.
And we're so happy they did.
And when we ask, sometimes we'll ask our guests who travel statewide, what's one of your favorite places? What's somewhere that is like has surprised you? People constantly say Erie. They love it up there. And Brian Sims said Pinchot Park, Giffords Pinchot. Yes. He is living his best woodsy life out there. So you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a little plug for DCNR. There are great places for you to enjoy. And Gifford Pinchot, I always say he is one of my favorite governors. He was a Republican who served 2 non-consecutive terms in the 30s. And that park's named after him because of the Pinchot Road that is near that park. But he was the first U.S. forester. He was a conservationist who worked with Teddy Roosevelt to put in place the National Forest System. And he's right here from Pennsylvania because he saw what happened when Pennsylvania was deforested during the time of the Industrial Revolution and the early 20th century. We just cut everything down. If there were trees, they was cut down for housing or it was cut down for fuel. And he knew that wasn't sustainable. So he helped change that at the United States at the national level. And then he came to Pennsylvania and he was like the secretary of our agency. He was the Cindy Dunn of that day. And then he and then he was elected governor, a real progressive champion. And just like TR, 2 Republicans in that day and age who were focused on our natural resources and conservation. So I always encourage people to learn about Pinchot too. That's pretty.
So
great guy.
I won't make you pick your favorite MLK project, but like, what's one of the most memorable MLK projects, like top of your head?
Just one.
Just one.
The lightning round is to give us the first thing comes to your mind.
You don't want me to talk for 20 minutes now. I get you.
Oh, no. We want you to talk for an hour.
I think with the Boys and Girls Club serving meals at the corner of 2nd and Market Street on a very cold night.
That's a good one. Excellent answer. What is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Well, some people drink coffee in the morning. I drink a glass of chocolate milk every morning.
Oh, good answer. Sometimes people are like, candy and ice cream is chocolate, one of the most like, yes. Yes, but sometimes people will say like exercise. So it really, it's on the spectrum. So what's your favorite part of your job? I had heard one time a story about you with bears, and so you really kind of like are living your best life out there.
Yeah. We got to go, and I'll be quick about it. We got to go to see a bear den on one of our state forest land. And the mother had 4 cubs, and we got to, they tranquilized the mom so she didn't bother us, and they weighed the cubs and took their blood samples, and that was pretty cool. You don't get to do that every day.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I want to be you.
Yeah. Well, just a funny story about that real quick. There were 3 cubs, and then they bring a 4th one over, and I said, "What is that?" And they said, "Well, the day before, a mother had run off in it from her and never came back to the den, so she left her 1 cub." And so they said, "We're going to introduce this cub to the den." And I said, "What happens when the mom wakes up and she went to bed with 3 and she woke up with 4?" And the guy looked at me. He goes, "Bears can't count."
But moms know.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't stick around.
Now I want you to come back and tell us what happened.
Yeah.
What happened to that poor cub?
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. So everyone, just remember that MLK Day is a day off, but you can spend it on. There are just so many options to choose from at centralpamlkday.org. So if you're going to go in person, shoot us a line. If you have any questions, Mike is available. Sarah, Hagir, myself, we are all available. If you go to the Facebook page, you can always drop a question and we will answer it. Just kind of give people one last call to action, Mike.
Yeah, well, please join us on January 17th. Join us in person or join us online virtually like this. Think about how you, your family, your friends can give something back to the community. Honor the life and legacy of Dr. King and everything that he stood for. Justice for all, better living conditions for people, better health care, equality. Those things are what we're trying to do by bringing to light important issues that exist in our community and getting people engaged and understanding, increasing awareness. So I want to thank you, Heather. I want to thank Sarah. I want to thank Hagir. I want to thank our whole board, a group of volunteers. It begins with them creating these opportunities for everybody. And I can't let the opportunity of being here go by without giving all of them a shout out. I mentioned it got started because Sybil Knight Burney took a meeting with me, and she didn't know me or anything about me, but I said, let's do this here in Central PA. And so she gets credit for being the co-founder with me. And then Patty Kim has been our chair the last 7 years or so. And she dedicates a lot of time to this and has helped us go to places like the Hadi Mosque and the synagogue and different places we've had great projects at over the years. And each member of the board has contributed so much. So I want to just thank them and thank you guys for serving on the board. And really, we look forward to a great day of service. And I think people will benefit from all the work that gets done. But I think everyone who joins in will feel pretty good about themselves too. It's important that you give back and we teach others the importance of the benefits and the importance of service and serving others. There's no higher calling than serving others. So please join us.
And there's plenty of time.
Something, Heather, I am so thankful for you. I heard about you, but sitting here listening to you, we are a better community with you and with your existence. So thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for everything that you're going to do in the future. We are a better community truly because of you and people like you.
Here. Yeah.
Yes. There's a bigger legacy here than we could ever even encapsulate in an hour. So do your small part, join, go to the website, join one of our projects, come out and see us, say hi when you're there, because we'll be out there doing our thing as well. And then practice. Everything takes practice. No one is born knowing how to do a service. So this is one of those really good opportunities to just practice everything that you want to do, everything that you preach. you can actually put it into practice here on January 17th. So thank you so much, Mike. I know you're busy, so I appreciate your time. You have a standing invite anytime you want to come back. If you've got any sort of thing, just let us know. And yes, thank you all for joining us again. We're back after our holiday break. So now we are back every Monday at 4. So thank you so much.
Thanks.